Not long after this baby was born, a pair of chicken wings grew on its back. Mom immediately cleaned the baby's wound with a sword. But after cleaning, there was no sign of bleeding wings. Mom had no choice but to put the baby on the baby's bed. Then she took a sheet and put the baby on the bed. Then she used a few clips to hold the sheet tightly. In this way, Ruiki would not fly away by accident because of the wings. When eating, Sister suggested that Mom take Ruiki to see a doctor, but Mom was worried that this unusual wing would be hurt by a thief. She directly rejected Sister's suggestion and told Sister not to tell anyone about this. But in a few days, the wings behind Ruiki grew a lot again. Even the clothes were almost torn by the wings. Mom used a ruler to measure it. She found that the wings had grown 3 meters long. Mom wanted to fix the wings with tape, but the wings could always be pulled out. There was no way. Mom could only cut the clothes and show the wings. Ruiki, who had no clothes to tie, soon spread the wings and played on the sofa. In order to find out what happened to Ruiki's body, Mom came to the library and found a book about birds to understand the structure of wings. Then she compared the wings of a chicken in a supermarket, but nothing came out. As the days went by, Ruiki's wings grew bigger and bigger, and a lot of feathers grew. In order to prevent Ruiki from getting hurt after flying, Mom brought a few pieces of foam material and made Ruiki a protective equipment. She also bought Ruiki a small helmet to protect. She was injured. Fortunately, Ruiki only lost a few feathers and was not injured. Mom applied a little medicine and she was fine. On this day, Mom brought Ruiki and Sister to a supermarket to shop. However, as soon as Mom and Sister turned around, Ruiki in the shopping cart disappeared. There was only one piece of clothing covering Ruiki's wings on the ground. Mom looked up and saw that Ruiki, who was not dressed, was flying around in the air in the supermarket. The passers-by below were stunned and took out their phones to record this strange scene. Mom and Sister ran all the way to chase Ruiki. However, no matter how Mom called Ruiki, Ruiki did not respond at all and continued to fly around. At this time, the security guard in the supermarket carried people to the scene. But even if the security guard climbed to the top, he still couldn't reach Ruiki. Ruiki was flying too flexibly. Mom told the supermarket manager on one side to turn off the light. Maybe it's useful, because Ruiki is particularly sensitive to light. Without light, Ruiki may be quiet. As the light in the supermarket faded, Ruiki slowly flew to one side, and the light was still on. Then a few security guards took advantage of Ruiki's inattention to catch Ruiki and forced Ruiki to go to the hospital. The doctor also said that he had never seen wings growing behind humans, and that humans themselves did not have the structure of wings. He suggested that Mom keep Ruiki in the hospital for scientific research. Maybe Ruiki will become the ancestor of human mutants. Mom refused the doctor on the spot and let her child do scientific research. She couldn't do it. Then, with the doctor's company, Mom took Ruiki out of the hospital. But at this time, at the door of the hospital, there were already a lot of media reporters. There was no way. The doctor could only take these 3 people through a hidden passageway to leave the hospital. However, when they came to the door of the house, the neighbors who had never seen them were eager to hug Ruiki. Then another wave of reporters also rushed up in an instant to get the first news. I thought I could get back to normal life when I got home. Unexpectedly, all the news about Ruiki was played on TV. Until the next day, the media reporters downstairs didn't want to leave at all. Mom had no choice but to call the doctor. She hoped the doctor could cut Ruiki's wings through the operation to restore normal human condition. But the doctor said that the bones connected to the wings are straight to the heart. Cutting may directly lead to Ruiki's demise, so this idea basically can't be realized. Seeing Ruiki grow up day by day, the ability to spread wings and fly in the air is also gradually familiar. When eating, Dad came up with an idea. Since everyone knows about Ruiki, it's better to directly use Ruiki and the media to make some money. This can not only improve life, but also use the money earned to change. A bigger prescription for Ruiki. Mom didn't want to use Ruiki to make money at first. But thinking about the current life, she had no choice but to agree to her husband. The next morning, Dad made an appointment with the media reporters to take a few pictures of Ruiki downstairs. The reporters were full of anticipation with the camera, and Ruiki appeared in front of everyone in Mom's arms. At this time, Dad took the opportunity to tie a rope to Ruiki's feet and wanted Ruiki to fly one for everyone to see. As Mom let go of her hands, Ruiki flew carefree for the first time in this wide sky. But not long after, an accident occurred. Mom accidentally missed the rope and caused Ruiki to fly directly into the sky and soon disappeared in the distance. Everyone rushed in the direction of Ruiki's disappearance. They only saw Ruiki coming to a lake and a dragonfly splashed water and then flew into the air again and then disappeared completely in the distance. Seeing the child disappear in front of her, Mom shouted desperately, "Ruiki!" The reporters began to scatter without news, leaving only a family of 3 waiting for Ruiki to return by the lake. However, this wait was for a day. Until the evening, they didn't see any sign of Ruiki. They could only send a search warning on the street to find Ruiki. But this was undoubtedly a sea of needles. Ruiki's disappearance made Mom desperate. She would occasionally stand by the window to see if Ruiki would fly home. When eating, she couldn't eat a bite. One day, she suddenly heard the sound of birds chirping at the window. She thought Ruiki had finally flown home, but she didn't expect that this was just the sound of a seagull flying past the window. Mom couldn't accept the fact that Ruiki had left and could only come to the lake where Ruiki disappeared again. She took off her shoes and walked into the cold and bitter lake. Seeing that the lake was about to touch her head, she didn't mean to stop at all. She closed her eyes and wanted to die, but this was the sound of the wings suddenly waving in the air. Mom looked up and saw that Ruiki had flown back. Mom hurried back to the shore and climbed to Ruiki. At this time, Ruiki's wings were much stronger, and there was an angelic smile on her face. Mom apologized to Ruiki and begged Ruiki not to leave her again. She shouldn't have treated Ruiki as a tool to make money, and she shouldn't have let go of the rope when Ruiki was unable to live on her own. However, Ruiki didn't want to stay after hearing fly into the air again. Maybe for Ruiki at this time, her mother's love for her was no longer suitable for her, and the vast sky was her final home. Mom seemed to understand that Ruiki's intention was not to return to the lake to seek death, but to get pregnant again soon to welcome a new life.